So I want to talk about the issue in a relationship when your partner is yelling at you. This is a very common problem that I encounter in my coaching sessions. And I want you to know that you're not alone in this. There's a lot of people that are going through that and don't know how to come out of it in a constructive way. When your partner is yelling at you, there's a couple of things you can do to right away lower the sort of intense energy that's going on for you. The first thing is to try to understand what triggers your partner. What is it that maybe you said, or what is it that you've done that triggers your partner? Because when you know what triggers them, you can start to adjust a little bit in the conversation. As soon as you see them being triggered, you know what triggered them, so you can, not necessarily that you have to change who you are, but you can start to shift the way you're responding to calm the energy. So first, don't take things personally. It's very important. If you start to take things personally, you yourself are going to start to be reactive and maybe raise your voice as well if it's your style of dealing in a relationship with conflict. So don't take things personally. Identify the triggers so that the next time it happens, you know what might have triggered them. That's very important. Third thing that is very important to practice when you're faced with a partner yelling at you is to really be assertive immediately when your partner raises their voice, to be assertive that you are not going to stick to the conversation here if your partner is yelling. So being assertive means let them know that you're not willing to stay in the conversation if they raise their voice. Say it calmly, but say it very assertively. I am not willing to stay in this conversation if you're raising your voice. Would you be willing to lower your voice so I can continue to hear what you want to tell me? Very important. Another part of changing the energy when your partner is yelling at you is to use the I versus the you. Maybe you said something that triggered your partner. You're not responsible for that, but you can be compassionate in understanding that your partner is being triggered with something and they're no longer in control of their emotional state. That's why they're raising their voice. So using the I versus you, start to shift the energy toward you and give your partner a break for a moment. Use sentences such as, I am not feeling comfortable right now staying in the conversation, or I am being triggered by you raising your voice. And this will shift the attention from what is going on to with your partner to back to yourself and the way you feel. You can also use sometimes the sentence, I am not feeling safe here in the conversation, if you raise your voice. And very important point in being faced with a partner that yells at you is set your limit. What I mean by that is that you're not going to stay in a conversation if your partner keeps yelling. So you want to express to your partner that this is my limit. I understand you're feeling anger and frustration right now, but my limit is here. I will not stay in this conversation if you raise your voice. I will then leave now the conversation and you leave the room. Don't stay with somebody yelling at you, because then you're participating to the issue here. Then if you're the one that has put the limit and left the conversation, you become responsible to go back to your partner at a different time when they're more calm and finish the conversation. So what I want you to know and feel inspired by today is that if you're being faced constantly, or even sometime with a partner yelling at you, there are strategies that you can establish to change the situation. You don't have to stay stuck in that situation where you're afraid to talk to your partner, or they become explosive and you don't know what to do. You put in place the few tips that I gave you. Remember, don't take things personally. Try to identify what triggers them. Express yourself in how you're experiencing the situation, and for sure set your limit, because you are also as responsible as your partner who is yelling at you if you're staying in a conversation where you're being yelled at. So this is about your boundaries, and this is about making sure you practice compassion to yourself first. If you feel inspired by the few tips that I just gave you, there's a lot more tips in the article below, so make sure you take the time to read it. And I'm inviting you to join my husband and I Facebook group called The Extraordinaries, where we give you loads of tips, loads of insights on how to take your relationship to the next level. So I hope to see you there.